broadcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for up-to-date information on upcoming shows and topics.
Welcome back to this week of The Hunting Show, and I'm coming to you from the 3 Art Gallery, which is on Whangamata Road on the way to Kinloch, just outside of Taupo, and why I'm here is going to become very clear very soon. Now, for those of you that visit our website, www.thehuntingshow.co.nz, you would have noticed some changes, and the biggest one is that now we're in line with the farming show, and that's with Jamie Mackay and all those great people from the Radio Network's farming show, and they're helping us along. One of the great things that they've installed for us is a gallery. And a few of you so far have found us on Facebook or seen my request out there on Facebook for images for our new gallery. There will be some prizes coming along at some point for that to go along with our Gerber promotion, which we'll get to at the end of the show. But please send us your photos. I don't mind if they're just photos of the stag that you got out in the middle of nowhere. That's not quite a trophy, but you're proud of it. I'd love to see those, and also of your kids and your wives and your partners. Certainly make sure they're appropriate, but photos of them and their hunts that they've got, and anything you think might be interesting for our listeners. That's all you have to do is email us at info@thehuntingshow.co.nz, and those will get up there promptly, and hopefully you'll see yourself up on our website. Remember, you can also get to that website by going to the farming show, going across to shows, where the bottom tab there, and all of our information's there. Now, the elections are coming up very soon, and I've arranged for a number of politicians and some party leaders for interviews. So what I'd like from you guys is, what would you like me to ask them? The 1080 issue is a no-brainer, and I will be addressing that with every single one of them and getting their opinions on where they stand, so you can make an informed decision about who to vote for and where they stand on issues that particularly affect our sport and hunters in general. And again, those things you can get to us on Facebook. All you've got to do is search The Hunting Show. Let me know on there the sort of questions you'd like me to ask. And of course, there is our website, and there's the email address is on there if you can't remember it, but you can email us those questions as well. In previous shows, we've talked at length about how hunting and being outdoors can help young people, particularly those with Asperger's and ADHD and autistic spectrum disorders. And we've covered that off, and we've even said that it's really important for those young people to be more aware of the world around us. Today's show, we're going to focus on something a little bit different, and that is adults with disabilities. And we probably all have experiences with people that we've taken out into the bush, or yourself have some disabilities, but it's something that I personally haven't had to deal with. And I'd like to first of all welcome Troy. How are you?
All right, how are you?
And Troy, I've known you for a little while, and you run around on wheels, and you're a hunter as well.
Yep.
So first of all, Troy, what's your background?
I grew up as farming background, so I've been living on farms all my life, since I was a kid. And we've always had like a bush boundary and stuff on the farm. There's always rabbits and possums and things like that to shoot. And my dad was a meat hunter by trade, so I've always grown up with hunting. I've pretty much been hunting, ironically, since I could walk.
and you've obviously, well, that means you've hunted your whole life. When you had an accident, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, December 2008, I was rock climbing around the lake at Whanganui Bay. First climb of the day, climbed the climb, got to the top, went to lower off. There was a miscommunication with my belayer. I thought he was lowering me off. He had untied from the rope. I let go and fell about 20 metres. Fractured my T11 and T12 vertebrae in my spine and dislocated it and overextended the spinal cord.
And what has that meant for you?
Completely paralysed from the waist down. No feeling, no movement, anything like that, yeah.
One of the things I've always admired about you, and I've known you for a little while now, is that you haven't let that stop you do this, or our sport particularly. You've had to obviously adapt that. What's some of the major changes you've had to make to keep yourself out there and doing it?
I can't just go run around in the bush anymore like I used to. There's a lot of changes there, but you have to adapt. So many things, in life anyway. But I have adapted a four-wheeler, so I get around a lot by quad bike. The only real adaptation that we made was that we've connected a handle to the gear lever, because I can't obviously change the gears with my feet, so I've just connected a handle to that, so I just pull up or I push down to change the gears, and that's all we've had to do really for me to get out and about and get round on my own. Yeah.
So it's mainly the quad bike that you're using?
Yep. If we do a bit of spotlighting for rabbits on a mate's place.
Oh, for rabbits?
Yeah, for rabbits. Because we cook a bit of rabbit. It's actually quite nice eating. So,
I thought rabbit was code for something.
Yeah. Well, occasionally we spotlight for other things too, but we do go out quite a bit for rabbits. And my mates just biff me up on the back of the ute. I just sit in my chair on the flat deck and just strap myself on with a motorbike tie down, and away we go.
Yes, there's nothing spectacular about that.
No, nothing highly technical with what we do. It's just thinking outside the square and just thinking, well, instead of thinking I can't do that, it's thinking, well, how could I do it? Or how can we make this work? No, that's the main attitude that you have to take. It's not, you can't look at it with the defeatist sort of attitude. Yeah.
Have you had to adapt anything with regards to weight? I mean, lifting some of these, particularly shotguns, can be quite heavy front on. Has that been an issue for you?
Yeah, a little bit. I used to use an older rifle. That was my father's. But when I had my accident, because I have to balance, especially sitting, like on a quad, or when you can't rest, it's just kind of snap shooting, stuff like that. I found that it was too weight forward, so it was actually quite difficult to shoot, because every time I pulled the rifle up, my whole body wanted to tip forward. So I've changed. I use a lot of carbines now, so a lot of short rifles. I've got 3 or 4 Rugers. They're just nice little 16-inch carbines. They're well balanced, just easier for me to shoot, rather than a real long, 20, 24-inch rifle. And
you obviously go hunting with your mates, everyone does. Did they have to make some changes, or was it just kind of like, come on, Troy, get back into it, don't muck around?
Yeah, it was more my dad. Me and Dad, we used to hunt a lot together, we have, forever. So it was more me and him just figuring out ways to do it in our own time. A few mates that I used to hunt with were a little bit standoffish, and sort of, I guess, because we couldn't do what we used to do before. So it was a little bit different. But we get out now and go hunting. So, but there hasn't been a lot of changes to be made. I mean, it's just more helping me out rather than me being completely self-sufficient like before. But it's just lifting my chair occasionally, or just helping me up if I fall out, or if I'm having trouble.
Out?
Yeah. We went out the other day for a look, actually, and the mate went to get the ute, and I was just mucking around on this clearing and went backwards and caught something and flipped out. Had a bit of a lay down in the tussock for a bit until he turned up.
Well, one of the interesting things I learned today, or over the last couple of days when I've been looking online, is that they don't call it hunting or disabled hunting. It's particularly overseas. They call it adaptive hunting. And I suppose that's exactly what you've done. Rather than say, I can't do this anymore, you've adapted what you have and the sport that you love to suit you. Have I got that right?
Yeah, because it's not like my disabilities, it doesn't disable me from going hunting, and it doesn't make me any more disabled of a hunter than other guys. There's a lot of guys that'll just hunt from a quad, or get to a spot, on a quad bike and leap off and just lay and sit and watch an open face. There's a lot of guys that do that already, so I'd just adopt exactly the same method. It's just I need to find those places where I can get access to. So yeah, it definitely is just adapted. I just adapt the other things around what I want to do to get to the hunting side of things.
Is there anything you can't do that you really miss?
I can't get up into the bush anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I really, really miss that. I can't bush hunt anymore. In the raw, there's nothing like being, up on a ridge, on a crisp morning and bellowing out, and then hearing stags roar back at you, or listening down into the valleys and things like that and hearing the stags roar. So we still get out for the roar, but it's from the bush edge rather than up in the bush. So that would be the main thing that I miss.
Do you find where we are is quite fortunate? I hunt a number of old quad tracks, and I suppose you can probably find those and get on quad bikes, and you can get into all sorts of great places. You're in the perfect place for hunting but particularly there are some really good access, particularly on public land and certainly private land. If you want to pay money or you know someone very special, you couldn't probably do that anywhere, could you? I mean, or everywhere.
No, that's it. Yeah, there's Taupo. We are very lucky to be central. So also, if there is, a block that you find out about or some public land that's not in the area, it's not a big drive to get there. But we do have lots and lots of variety and lots of hunting just locally, and there is quite a lot of accessible area. And I'm finding, I'm always exploring and finding more and more stuff.
Yeah.
And we know some people that have got access to some blocks and stuff as well. Again, through farming and growing up on the farm, just connections from the past and things that we've sort of followed up again and said, well, hey, what's the chances? And everyone's been really receptive with that, so it's quite good.
One of our biggest listening bases are people that haven't hunted very much. So new hunters, and you're clearly not. Would you have 3 tips for new hunters, not necessarily people with disabilities, but for 3 tips for new hunters that want to give the sport a go or want to get better at the sport? 3 things your dad's told you, maybe.
The first thing that I can say to anyone is just get out there. Don't worry about watching all this stuff on YouTube about these guys that shooting all these deer and wearing all this flash stuff. Just chuck on a pair of trainers, grab your knife belt and your rifle, and just go for a walk, even if it's just for a morning or an evening. Just go and check something out. The other one would be, if you try a new area or something, don't just write it off. Like the first time you go there, if you don't see any deer sign, don't just write it off. Go back a few times and get to know the area a bit better. Because just because there's not deer sign there one time, it might just not be that time of the year that the deer are there. And with that, I suppose the third thing, and I think it's important that all hunters do it, I know we don't, but we should, but is actually to keep a diary. Keep a hunting diary of the areas you hunt for that time of the year and when you've seen or when you've shot deer. And it helps your success rate a hell of a lot because you've got a log from year to year of when those deer were in that area, when you're seeing deer in that area, when you're shooting deer in that area. And then like in the winter, well, that spot's no good because I've been there in the winter. I went there last year and there was nothing. But in the summer, I shot 2 deer there. So it was worthwhile going back. So that's another really handy thing. It's
funny, I keep a logbook for my home brew, but I don't for hunting. And I'll tell you one of the tips I got last week with Pete the Bushman, and you probably didn't listen to last week's show, Troy. I know you're looking at me like, no, I didn't. You're feeling embarrassed. But we had an interview. If you didn't listen to it, go back through the archives and find that. It's with Pete the Bushman, and he's got the Bushman Centre down there in the South Island. And he said, think of deer like fugitives. If they hear you coming, they'll disappear and all that kind of thing. And he actually explained it far better than I did. And last time I went hunting, I put that into the back of my mind. It didn't help me that much, but I will say that starting to think of them. And another person's told me things like people, they like it where it's warm and
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, if it's a windy day, and it's quite cold, especially this time of year in the winter, look for the sheltered, sunny faces because if you were living out in the bush, or even if you're out that day, it's much nicer on that face than it is up on a ridge where it's blowing its ass off, So in a way, they are a lot like humans. So you do have to sort of think, well, where would I be in this sort of weather, And it will definitely help your success rate.
Now, getting back to adaptive hunting or hunting with disabilities, have you got any advice for someone that may be in a similar position to you or has a friend that's in a similar position to you or a son or grandson or granddaughter for that matter? What sort of advice would you give them?
Just to think outside the square a little bit, and just think of ways that you think that you could do it, or someone that might be able to help you out with it. I'd always be willing to help anyone if they wanted to get in touch with me. I'm sure we'd be able to put some details up on the website or something. If anyone's got any questions, they can just give me a ring or flick me an email. Something I can help out as much as I can. But yeah, probably just give something a go. If it doesn't work, try something different. It's the same with anything in life, really. If you don't give it a go, you don't know.
Yeah, and as always, what we'll do is we'll put some contact details for Troy on the comments section of this podcast. So if you're on iHeartRadio, just open the the Eject app, and it'll show you all the comments. If you're on iTunes, that just automatically shows up. And if you're on Blog Talk Radio, just scroll down. I've had people say I don't know where to find them, and it's really simple, so I thought I'd better mention that. But there'll be some contacts for you. Troy, the big question. You must have a couple of good hunting stories. You've been doing it a little while, and you've told me some good yarns, and a couple of them I don't think I can repeat on the radio. But can you... So can you give us that? What those two great hunting stories that you've got in the back of your mind? One's you whip out when you're on the gas.
I had a bit of a think about it, and one that was pretty funny was actually the first deer I ever shot. I went out on a labour weekend. Thought, I'll go 3 days off work, I'll shoot out the bush, and my dad couldn't make it, so I just went out on my own. I was only 15, so I jumped in the car and grabbed the rifle and all my gear, except my bag of clothes. I was in such a hurry to leave that I forgot all my clothes, and it happened to be raining, so that wasn't such a good move. But I got out, decided, well, no point sitting in the hut, I'll go for a walk. It was just kind of drizzling, and I walked up a track and looked down onto a clearing, and there was a deer sitting there. Oh, wow, bloody deer, okay. So I laid down, lined it up, boom, fire, knocked the thing over. Sweet, my first deer. Right, now I've got to go and get the thing. So I started smashing down through the tea tree, and it just wasn't working. Thought I'd take a shortcut, and like we know in the bush, shortcuts don't do it. Just go the way you know. Shortcuts never end up being shorter. And got absolutely soaked to the bone. Like had to tip my boots upside down to get the water out of them. So I turned tail, went back around the long way, got down to the deer. That was fine. Got it all sorted. Peek-outed it out and got back to the car, but had no clothes. I had nothing. I was completely soaked. So I grabbed all my gear, thought, well, there's no point hanging around. Haven't got my clothes. I've shot a deer. So I chucked everything in the car, stripped down to just my undies, and proceeded to drive home after that. Thought the whole time, well, I hope no cops pull me over. I'm covered in blood. I'm just sitting here in my undies. It might have looked a little bit funny. Yeah, it might have raised some suspicion. But yeah, so that was my first deer that I shot. So.
I've just in my head got these bad visions of you and your gruts. Don't ever do that to me again, Troy.
Yeah, it's just one way to keep the car seats clean. Yeah. But yeah, the other story I thought of a few years ago, I went out for a hunt. I come back from a concert, and it was a beautiful day, just too beautiful to not go out. It was the day before New Year's. And so I said to mate, oh, you want to go for a hunt? We'll go out. It's a pretty good day for it. It's nice and crisp and clear, and there's no wind. Beautiful afternoon. I've got this clearing, and I reckon if we're up here at this sort of time, it's pretty good odds. And the yearlings are sort of, still a few dumb yearlings around this time of the year. Sure, should be good. So I talked it up the whole way there. Grabbed a couple of beers out of the cupboard before we left, and cruised out to the bush and said, we'll drive up here, we'll walk up the creek, and we'll drop these beers in the creek as we go up, because we're going to need them when we come back, because we're going to go bloody knock this deer over. Yeah, no worries. So did that, walked our way up to the clearing, told my mate to just wait up the top and sneak down after me. We had a cut track down into this clearing, so we could just sneak down and pop out and look right across it. And so snuck down there, poked my head out, no bloody deer. Normal story, normal bloody story, no bloody deer on this clearing. So I walked down the clearing a bit, rifle over my shoulder, and I seen this movement just down to me. There was a bit of a pumice scree that ran off. I thought, oh no, I've stuffed it up. There's a bloody deer standing right there. And I stopped for a minute, and I didn't hear it crashing away. I thought, well, that's funny, like reds, normally if they see you, they thunder off, and you hear them running for the next 2Ks down through the bush. So the bloody thing hasn't bloody run away. It may not have seen me, it might have just heard me crunching across the pumice. So got the rifle ready, snuck down, looking around this bit of scrub, and next thing this deer's head pokes around the other side of the scrub. So boom, dropped it, and called my mate down. Oh yeah, mate, knocked one over. Yeah, no worries. Just normal. Picked the thing up, carried it out, grabbed the beers out of the creek on the way back, got back to the ute. There you go, mate. It's always like this. Yeah.
I've got a similar casino story, and I won't go into it because my wife listens to this podcast, but it involved me and putting a bet down on one chance of roulette and getting it and telling the girl I was with that's how it's done. And pretty much I do that every time. And I won an obscene amount of money off $20. Long story, and it's actually quite boring, but I do like your style. Hey, now, you didn't think, we definitely didn't forget the 3 Art Gallery and why we're here. And I'd like to know, this has got nothing to do with hunting, so it's a little bit off topic. Tell us about the 3 Art Gallery.
3 Art Gallery, again, once I had my accident, I'm a carpenter by trade, and one of my friend's dads said, well, hey, have you tried wood turning? Have you ever tried that? No, I've never tried wood turning before. I used to make a bit of furniture and bits and pieces. And he said, oh, well, you should come out and give it a go. I'm sure we can set you up on a lathe. We'll just build a platform so you're sitting up a bit higher. And so I started having a bit of a go and really enjoyed it and started to get quite good at it. So I got offered the opportunity here with my friend's dad. He had people interested in coming to see some of his work. So he said, well, I'm thinking about building a gallery. Are you interested in helping me stock it? So we sort of came up with the idea. There's me and him, which do wood. We do wood turning and wood art and furniture and stuff like that, functional and artistic. And then we've got a friend, Nancy, who does some really amazing sand art. So it's just paintings done out of, I think it's like 24 different shades of New Zealand sand. There's no paint involved. It's just sand. It's amazing stuff. So we all got together and created a gallery, and we've just done some big extensions. So it's 400% bigger now. And it's a really, really neat space. But also I feel the wood turning, that's helped me a bit also in the bush, because now I've sort of got to know the New Zealand timbers a lot better, because I've been working with the timber a lot more, and it's actually, I take a lot more notice now in the bush, of some of the trees and things that we walk past, and some of the birds that are on some of the sides of the trees.
Righto.
But yeah, so I've quite enjoyed that too, because I'm getting to know sort of my my flora a little bit better in the bush. Yeah, get to identify trees and stuff a lot better.
Actually, just to quickly change the subject, do you think knowing the bush that you're in, or knowing the environment that you're in, that little bit better has helped you?
Yeah, it definitely helps for sure. I mean, knowing what things are and where you are is a big part of hunting and being in the bush. So having an understanding of the different trees and different plants and stuff like that's definitely a help.
One thing I've been amazed with when I've travelled, and I've done a little bit of travelling overseas, particularly the Americans, have absolutely, and not all Americans, so please, if you're American, I know about 10% of our audience is American, so don't be offended, but a lot of Americans have absolutely no idea about the environment at all. And when I mean that, they know environmental issues, and I'm sure they are aware of pollution and that sort of thing. This is more that they just have it's not a bred in common sense about the world around them. And Kiwis, as a rule, aren't greenies. We just seem to get it. We just seem to know what's good and bad for the environment without having to think about it. Do you think that even that better understanding, or the more understanding that you have, has helped you in that way? Yeah.
I think, like, as Kiwis, like, the environment's a big part of us as who we are. So we sort of, like you say, we've grown up with it, and we've got a pretty good understanding, and we're very close with our environment. Most people will know, about rimu trees or kauri trees or different things like that. They know about timbers, and they'll know about plants, kowhais, all those sorts of things. Everyone can relate to timber probably in one way or another. I wouldn't know many people that couldn't relate to it really.
Or couldn't identify those trees.
Yeah, certain trees. Yeah, for sure, yeah.
I'm going to have to spend some time with you and actually get to know it just that little bit better, because it's on my list to do. I've got a friend who's really into botany, and he can be standing by a railway track and make a salad, that tastes okay. And for whatever reason, I'm absolutely obsessed with learning that, and I've done nothing about it. So, so if they want to find more about 3 Art Gallery, where can they look? They can find you online?
Yep. We've got a website, 3artgallery.co.nz. So there's a lot of info on there. We've got a Facebook page. I believe it's up and running now. So again, just search for 3 Art Gallery on Facebook. My page on Facebook is Woodworks NZ. That's Woodworks with a K instead of an S.
I make it hard.
Yeah, just to make it a little bit tricky. Keep you guessing. Otherwise, come out and see us out on Whangamata Road. It's only 10-12 minutes drive from town. It's on the way to Kinloch. Great in the summer. You can carry on down and get some fish and chips or something in the evening, and it's well worth a look.
And I've had a good look around tonight, and it definitely is. It's a well set up gallery with lots of interesting stuff, and definitely that good present for wives or partners, or even something that great heirloom that you want to get. So that website again is www.3artgallery.co.nz. And just before we sign off, I had a good look online. If you search adaptive hunting or adaptive outdoors on Google, there's a whole heap of societies around the world dedicated to helping people that hunt or do our, in our sport to take it that little bit further or get back into it after an accident. But Troy, as far as I could find, there was nothing in New Zealand.
No, not that I'm aware of. There's a couple of companies that make stuff like certain types of wheelchairs and things for guys to get around. But as far as I know, there's no actual organisation that actually helps people with disabilities to get out hunting. I know that there are some of the guys that do guided hunts or have hunting blocks that will cater for people with disability. So it's just a matter of asking the question. I had a guy I was talking to the other day that was actually taking 2 guys out this weekend, and he had never done it before, so it was just going to be a big learning thing for the 3 of them. It was two disabled guys in similar situations to me. So it's really just a matter of just asking, But no, as far as I know, there's nothing particularly set up.
Could be an opportunity for you to set up a Facebook page, Sunshine.
Yeah, could be.
Dirty old Facebook. Get you involved, and if you do, I'm sure I'll link to it. You're looking at me like, what have you got me into?
As will all of the listeners.
Of course they will. And thank you so much, Troy. You've been a pleasure of an interview, and I hope this does in some way help your cause, but also get a few people out to the 3 Art Gallery. It's definitely worth a look. Now, if you want to win those great Gerber prizes, all you need to do is be active on our Facebook page or on our website. It's really that simple, and you'll get your pretty picture at the top of our page with the Fan of the Month. We're about to announce another one, and if you're listening to this in archive, it's probably already been done. And thank you so much to the winners who have sent me photos of their prizes and even a couple of photos of them out and about. We like getting photos. Again, guys, thank you for listening. Check out our new website, www.thehuntingshow.co.nz. Good hunting.
Broadcasting from an undisclosed location, from a secret hunting spot known only to him, and the guy who told him about it, and possibly the guy who told the guy who told him. It's a show all about hunting in New Zealand and around the globe. This is The Hunting Show. Find The Hunting Show on Facebook and Twitter for